this again. Okay, so that's on now. That's on. All right. Okay, take two.
Player housing where you have your own stable to get horses and stuff. You have your own like blackstone like thing that makes sharps, hards, weapon stones, armor stones. Like you have a ton of different functions, as well as having like you know all this like daily useful stuff. Your crafting stations. Like there's a lot of like built-in stuff to their player housing, which would be really cool if we had that.
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
sort of mobile on the go in a way.
and I was just thinking, like we haven't had a new life skill in a while. Why don't we just create a new life skill called like carpentry or construction? And now,
That'd be
now
cool.
it's its own life skill that could
Yep.
potentially have a purpose for profit too. You can craft those functional pieces of decor and
That
furniture
people
to
would
sell in the
buy.
market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
As
the other
well.
life skills can't be used for profit.
Yep. True.
Like, I look, I don't know about adding a new life skill, mainly because they can't even get the old life. Like, they need to make the old life skills, or like the normal life skills, more approachable for new players before they make another life skill. Like, they need to have like a tutorial or like something that like helps introduce players to life skilling before they add yet another like system to the game that people aren't going to want to like actually get involved with. You know what I mean? So, um, that's just my take on that. Now, overall, I think that player housing, I don't know, like the way they have it currently set up, you know, investing contribution or whatever, and then like I think that the normal housing has basically just become, like you guys said, a dump for like your cooking and alchemy stuff, and then like your various house buffs, obviously. But like the manor is where I think that they really like they should explore like the RP aspect of player housing, and like the fact that we only have two manors, right? It's like the Heidel one and like the Calpheon one, is it?
Land of Morning Light.
Or
Oh yeah,
Land
the
of
morning
Morning Light.
light.
Oh yeah, I guess we
Yeah.
have three. But like they need to introduce more manors, and then the manors, like the stuff for the manors needs to be more accessible. Whether it's just a I'm okay with just a silver dump. Flat out, I am totally okay with a silver dump. Like, and then I think that more people would do it, and it would be more fun because you'd have more manors. Right now, you can't have a manor contest. There's not enough players in the game that have done the relevant quests. Like, like you have to do like a million quests and spend billions of silver to like decorate a manor. I can think of like four players off the top of my head, and we're all just going to use those players. You know what I mean? You just put them on your friends list. Like we're just going to use those.
Reminds me
Like,
of there was this event that me and Hexella were a part of when Land of Morning Light first released. It was the Manor Decoration Contest or whatever, and they gave us like these pre-made accounts, and then when they had like, okay, so you know how like when you go to your storage, you can access your different storages. You know, from Calpheon, Balanos, like the different regional storages, and they mailed every single piece of furniture like times 10 into the mailbox. And they unfortunately like I had to like prepare by individually taking each and every single furniture out and shoving into storage, and it filled up like all 192, like all the 192. I think it filled up like I want to say like 1,000 slots. It was like it was a lot of
Oh my
it was a
gosh.
lot of stuff. And so and if you had to do a quest for each of them, oh my god, that's
It's a lot.
man. There was some pretty cool furniture though. There's like cool like bright lights and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just there's whoever's designing, whoever's like in charge of like the matter stuff, I do think that they're like passionate about creating all these like cool stuff like that, but it's just it's not as accessible as we would like it to be able to utilize all that cool stuff that they want to add, you know.
yeah, I mean, like, so what would it? Okay, what would get you guys to do like to get involved in the current player housing system. So I don't really know if they're actually going to change it all that much.
Functionality. I mean, it's. I'm more of like a very practical person. Whenever
I don't think
whenever it comes to player housing,
I don't think that they're going to
so that
change
would
it to be functional. I think that they wanted to just be the RP fantasy part.
All right.
I will say that they're
Lasted
adding
like
an
5
aspect
minutes.
of apparently like didn't they mention at the Calpheon ball that they were going to add like a way for us to like cook together? Didn't they mention like guild like cooking or something?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, where like you have like a guild
I'm not sure if
manor
that's
thing where you do
confirmed or
things
anything.
together.
Yeah, but like they,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
the
sure
only
they
thing I
mentioned
remember
that.
is that the only thing I remember is that there was going to be like a guild, like you can set somebody as like the guild manor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the only thing that I remember. I don't know anything else.
That's what I'm
beyond
talking
that.
about. Yeah, they haven't really said anything about it since then. But like, how would you guys rework player housing to make it better than it currently is? Because I don't really feel like they can change too much about like how it's coded into the game. So like, I don't know. Like, there's just nothing that is really going to make me go hang out in a house in a hot tub all day with other Dark Knights. You know what I mean?
What makes it so like right now in BDO Mobile, everything is part of your player housing manor thing versus right now everything's separated. The only thing you get the manor for, like you can get a house anywhere and cook anywhere, but you can get a manor, I guess, too. But it's off the city, away from my storages, all this stuff. Like I think that if they integrated other life skills with it, like putting like a stable in there or putting your farm in there or more of those kinds of things, I think that's the only way, like, because I have no reason to get the manor as much as I think all the furniture and stuff is cool and there's all this cool stuff to it. I have no incentive to do it because like
It's very true.
like, it doesn't functionally do anything for me, and I never have the spare time to like run around and do it or find the value of the time to do it. But like if my farms were there, then I might decorate it to make it look nice. Or if like my stable was in there, or I could do extra stabling for horses, like maybe I could utilize that. But currently there's just like kind of no use for me, at least personally. I can't even imagine something other than that, or making
I think
like
BDO's
sort of like
BDO
these daily
Mobile
login materials. Like that's what they do for again BDO Mobile's like,
housing's
you have to
pretty
like
good.
collect your blackstones because it fills up to a meter, and then you have to take them out, so then it crafts more or whatnot. If they had some sort of system like that, but then you'd have people that argue that it's like, oh, I have to log in every day I have to collect my auto-generated stuff from my thing. That's annoying. So I don't know. You pick one end of the stick.
China is trying to pass legislation currently, and it looks like it's going to go through. That is going to remove RNG rolly boxes and login rewards.
Login rewards, really? I don't mind RNG boxes, but login rewards is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess you could argue that it makes people do something they may not necessarily want to do for the FOMO or something.
I mean, it might be
making
just
players
like
log in when
it might be login rewards that are like Pearl Shop oriented, or like it's not just for BDO obviously, but like Cash Shop oriented login rewards. Honestly, it's W China. And BDO is set to release in China, or like they're trying to get a release in China. So I'm curious how that might actually change the state of the game for us, because like if maybe they just keep it as like the Chinese version of the game, but like I don't know. I think that might change gaming as a general rule, because like I don't know, the Chinese market is kind of big. More to the point though, I think that I don't know, player housing is in kind of a rough spot because again, nobody wants to go do all that stuff to just decorate their house. There's no practicality to it. There's no reason to do it other than, hey, my house looks pretty. And like you can buy a bunch of stuff off the Pearl Shop that can decorate a house. Sure. I would honestly rather do that than spend the 400 hours it's going to take me to do all the quests and the billions of silver and everything. It's just not like I would love as a content creator to have like a to have like a manor off. You know what I mean? Be like, all right, I'm going to walk through everybody's manors, and whoever has the best one gets like $50. You know what I mean? Like that would be really cool. The problem is no one has, like I have a manor, I think, but like nothing is in it. I can't decorate it. Also, to be honest with you, the manor is kind of mid. It's kind of garbage. Like I think that like it looks kind of bad, but like also I can't do anything in there that is relevant at all. As Jay said, we could add functionality. If I could just put my farms in the courtyard, for example, or I could like cook in the house and like, well, I guess you can cook in it, but like,
Well,
Like
like
make it more efficient. Make it like
You know
buffed.
how,
Make it like have better rates or something.
yeah, let the
I mentioned
entire
before,
guild be
like,
able to do farming in there, you know, like or
Make
something like.
mastery materials when you're cooking next to it. It buffs you.
I did mention before, in RuneScape they have it instance, and maybe this would be a way to do it. Is that we would make the manor space instance, and then you could just have like more. You can create your rooms, right, to make it however you prefer to make it. I don't know how they would do it, but maybe that would be a way to do it. Is just make it instance. Then you have more customizability. You could create a farm plot or something like that in there. You know, like a greenhouse, and that's where your farming stuff is. You know, and then we can make more functional in that way.
Well, greenhouse
You
would
have dedicated
be sick.
rooms.
Greenhouse would be really cool. I mean, I like the idea of farming. It was something I got super into when I started the game. I was doing fertilizer for all my crops. I was watering them, and then I realized that was all complete garbage.
It doesn't matter.
And it was irrelevant.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all.
Farming's awesome. Farming's the best life skill.
No, like
so
they.
chill. We go in. We pick
Okay,
my
let's
crops. I
pivot.
got some farmers doing it.
All right,
we're chilling.
now we're gonna talk about it, okay? Because this is state of farming. No, it's not okay. Okay, like farming could
I
be
like it for what
improved.
it is. It could
Like,
be better.
It could be way better,
It
dude.
could be better.
Let
It
me
could be better.
actually like plow the field or like
Plow the
tend to
field.
the crops and like water it and stuff. Give me, if I active farm, it should give me way more fucking resources. Like it should like really
Well, they're
be
buffing it.
a viable
are.
active life skill.
They basically are. Did you see the recent change where they like added how much more stuff to the pickups? So like
let me
now you're.
Let me
No, go
explain
ahead,
to you
go.
what I want from my farms. I want to literally look out at my vast fields of farming, right? I want like land of the morning light. You know those giant wheat fields? That's what I want. Those are all my everything the light touches in this area.
Oh, you want
is my
Farmville?
kingdom. I want Farmville. You're damn right.
Okay,
I want
well
Farmville.
that's different.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't want that much farms.
Well, yeah, well, no. But see, you don't. But I think that there's space for players that really do want that and want to farm just all day long. Like that's what they want to do.
fair.
They want the Farmville simulator. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
And it should be a viable life skill. Like if you want to be a farmer, like you want to be a pirate, like like you want to be a barterer, right? Like you should be able to do it basically all day.
Expand on those skills
And
to where
just-
you can just like be a
Yes.
main farmer master.
Correct.
That
Like,
would be kind of cool. Okay,
there it is.
In that vision, that would be really cool if a lot of life skills were built like that. I think that'd be
Yes.
really neat.
Like this is
That would
just
be
like what
so
I
cool.
want. Like I want to
Okay.
be a life skill. Like I want to be a farmer. Like this
That
is
would
what I
be
want to do,
awesome.
right?
For what it is currently, I personally like farming. You know, it's not a lot of work. You just do a little bit here and there. You get a little materials that help just random things in the game. So I use it functionally because of the stuff I want to collect from what I get from the materials. So like, I don't know. I like the basics of it. But a system like that would be really cool if they had like some high level mastery farming or something like that.
I was actually just about to follow up with that. It says they have pre-existing systems in the game. If you look at your world map right now, they actually have icons in the top right show like the water levels, the topography of everything, like the you know the ground levels. I feel like I wish they would make it matter more, like where you place your farms. Like let's say I want to, I don't know, farm sunflowers, and you put your farm plots in like a very sunny area, and you have like, I don't know, 300% yield on your sunflowers because you put it in a sunny area. Or let's say I want to, you know, farm some I don't know, mushrooms or something. You put it in a damp, dark place, doesn't get a lot of sun, but it's like very humid.
Yep,
right? And then,
that would be sick.
Your mushrooms would, you know,
right.
All that currently does is like cut a few minutes. Like if it cut hours of production time, I feel like that would be way more useful. But all it does is cut like 15 minutes off of your production. Or even if your plants aren't watered, it'll be back. It'll be up in like 5 more minutes. Like it really, all the separate functionality for those things doesn't actually do anything. And you know, it would be really cool if that stuff actually mattered. You could do some crazy min-maxing for your farming if they, you know, let you actually min-max it. You know what I mean?
And you know what else is like? I mean, I thought it was a little funny, but when you farm hay bales, you like, I guess you're farming, I don't know, the cows, and you also get like meat and stuff like that.
Yes.
Maybe they could expand that on more, and you could have like a whole like ranch or something like that.
Exactly. I want to have a slaughterhouse.
Yes.
I want to take the cow out back and just turn it
No.
into beef. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
my.
Like I have
Yeah.
red meat now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I
that
guess.
would be cool, right?
I hate to bring it back to Arcade, but Arcade had a system where so much stuff was built on your player housing, whether you were farming stuff, whether you're making crops, whether you're making animals, and it was you had to manage that stuff every 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, depending on what kind
Exactly.
of animals you were
Like-
slaughtering. You had to feed them, you had to heal them when they were sick. There was so much functionality, but it was all super worth it because the money you made was
You could
incomparable.
Yeah, you could expand this to be like a ranch. Like, yes, it could be a ranch, like Jay
A
said.
real
But like
thing,
you could have literally farms all over the world and constantly be running to go tend to them. And then you've got like your horses and your stables and your cows for milk, right? You go milk your cows and like tend to those, and then some of the cows you can turn into beef, right? Like a ton of beef. Like it would give you a massive amount of red meat, like 10,000 red meat or something.
You know, actually,
like,
that gives me an idea. Why don't we integrate some of the farm nodes? Like, let's say you invest in a farm node and you can take over that farm, and that could, this node is for ranching, and this other node is for, farming like wheat and stuff. You mentioned like
That'd be
wheat
pretty
fields, right?
yeah.
Let's say we in Land of Morning Light, you invest in a node that's like next to the, all the, the wheat fields, and then that's your farm,
Yeah.
And so now you can integrate the node system into, I guess, the farming system as well.
Right. And then you could go around your like basically your farms all day. You could tend the field, plow the field, harvest the crops. Oh, now I got to go handle the cows. You know what I mean? And this is what you do. You don't really have to do anything else in the game. This is like what you play BDO for. Again, it could be that there's a huge market for that in terms of just this is a sandbox MMO. You should feel like you can just go out and play the game the way you want to. You bet your sweet bippies that if they introduce something like that to the game, that I would play the game that way for a while. Like that's just what I would do. You know what I mean? Like this is just my life now. I'm a rancher. Like that would be cool. And then like, okay, so if we're gonna talk about like the state of farming like this and like how they could expand it, let's look at the other life skills. Let's look at horse training next. I think that horse training, if you're gonna make it in this vision where like you're gonna expand the life skill to make it something cooler, I think that like horse training in general could be completely improved where like you could move. Like going out to catch horses should be like you should be able to do it from horseback, and you should like they should like run as like a group of horses. Like maybe you could make this a party activity, kind of like hunting. You know what I mean?
Ranching.
Like ranching, exactly. You could make this
That would be cool.
like literally you could go out with your friends in a party and like corral horses and try to catch them with your like capture ropes, right? Like that would be a really cool like life skill activity. It's a party activity too. You could do it solo as well. That would be really cool.
That would be cool.
Right? Like and then you could do it all day too.
Yeah. A horse training and taming in general, like the breeding system used to be really intricate, and I feel like with the T9 T10 system,
it kind of throws
it's
it all
kind of got shoehorned into something that's like, it's whatever now. Who cares? Like, it's like, man, this used to be some crazy breeding thing, and now it's like, what? It's gone.
No, yeah. Do you guys remember Something Lovely?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my
And
god, I
they
used
use
to
that
use
website
that
every day.
religiously. I used to use that website religiously.
Yeah.
It was wild.
And they had a horse breeding calculator where if you take like certain horses with certain coats, like their color, you would make like you could target specific coats
breeds
and whatnot, or like breeds of the horse, and I think they would sometimes have like different stats or something like that, and it would be like more. It was like more intricate in that way.
It was like a pure white, full-bred male was like the fastest horse at the time.
Yeah,
and like people were really, really into that. I had a handful of friends that like literally all they did was horse train, and like they knew all the charts and all the numbers, and it was pretty crazy for a while.
And then they throw it out when they
T9 T10 system.
Well, what is going on?
Didn't even utilize that.
Yeah,
but maybe
unfortunately,
I don't know if they could do something like that where they could expand bring it back in that way where I don't know if you
What? Oh my gosh, this camera angle.
like 2 T8s that are like pure black or something, you would have a chance at the black Pegasus. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Let's do
They do like a really special T9 or a really special looking T10 with like variations, you know, has like a different coat, different tattoos or something.
Okay. Yeah, no,
That would be
I
cool.
completely agree.
Bro.
Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is processing. I think that as far as processing goes, I think that they could go back into crafting. I think it already exists in the game. I think they could make
Mhm.
crafting just like super valuable again. You know what I mean? It used to be
Mhm.
that I would go out and tan rhinos every day so that I could craft Grunel to sell to other players. There is
That was
nothing
the
like
thing,
that
man, back
anymore.
in the day.
Like
Grinnell.
Mhm.
you can the most I see
Yeah.
for stuff like that is you can technically still make functional clothes. But like it's not really super good. You end up like managing a bunch of stuff. I loved the
Mhm.
idea that like I was a craftsman, you know, like I was the guy that made stuff for other players. I wanted to
Mhm.
be the guy that made simple cron meals. I wanted to be the guy that made craftsman's clothes, right? Like it felt like I was running like this whole life skilling
Mhm.
empire. I was making money off my processing, and then I was like gathering so that I could go cook. And then my cooking stuff, like I would make into cron meals, and I could sell those, or I, you know, whatever. But like
Mhm.
I don't really get that feel anymore. But as far as like processing goes, I don't really see the value in processing anymore. Most people, like if you're a processor, you've got full tech nanos accessories with a pen like processing stone, and you're just speed running
Mhm.
materials and then selling them on the market for profit, and that's it. That's all you do, right? And then the
Mhm.
traders buy it and they turn it into their crates or whatever. Like, and so
I
like,
was
go
Mhm.
ahead.
I was gonna say, I was thinking, so now that trading is just like trade crates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I just think of like the I don't know, the fantasy, or like I guess IRL vision of when you know, if you're a craftsman, like let's say you're a tailor, you're making clothes and you're selling it to some sort of like I don't know, merchant or whatever, and maybe they could have that sort of system in the game where let's say, you know, the functional clothes, right? We could make I guess I don't know if it would be just a reskin of trade crates, but let's say we craft these Calphionian clothes and we could trade it, yeah, right? We just trade it to a node manager or a trade manager to somewhere else that like values Calphionian clothes or something like that, or like Valencian clothing or Valencian like you know goods and stuff like that. All that, and then we could I don't know they could bring back trading in that way and integrate it with processing. So you've become the craftsman, you've become the tailor, you've become the blacksmith to craft these goods from these cities, and then you would trade them to other cities that value them highly and stuff like that, and that could be a way to expand upon processing. You know, you're the process, you're the crafts, you're the
That would be
craftsmith. You know,
cool.
so
Yeah,
mhm.
like, or you could take like an apprenticeship from like a blacksmith in a major city that you
Mhm.
wanted to like, um, learn from in quotation marks.
Mhm.
And he could teach you how to craft very special stuff. It's going to cost you a lot of time, right, and effort. But like, he
Mhm.
could send you out on quests and stuff, and you could like become an apprentice blacksmith, and then you could like craft like special weapons and armor and stuff, or outfits for characters because like
Mhm.
you know that would be really cool. Like any of that would be really cool for processing. Gathering, okay. Moving over to gathering, I think that you can already do gathering all day. You could just be a gatherer. I think that
Yeah.
that's like hunting. You can already just be a
Yeah, you
hunter
make pretty good
all
money.
day. That doesn't really need to be expanded.
Yeah.
What else
Mhm.
needs to be expanded? Alchemy. Alchemy is in
And
dire straits.
maybe they could
Alchemy
make the
needs to be helped so
systems
badly.
for hunting better because you just shoot and roll, right? I think could
Well,
make
no, I mean you
Sniper
have
the
hunting.
sniper
sniper
hunting.
systems kind of
Sniper hunting.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, you have
that's true.
sniper
Yeah,
hunting. You have normal hunting.
forgot
There's
about
a lot of
sniper hunting.
nuances that goes into normal hunting.
Yeah, true.
Like, there's just a lot of depth to hunting. I think it's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
And I think
hunting's
that
good.
alchemy is in dire need of an update overall, and not just like how do you improve alchemy so that like you're an alchemist, right? And I
Mhm.
think that the way you do that is you improve imperial alchemy to actually be worth a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I think that it should be more than cooking by a
It's a lot
clean
more effort
margin.
than cooking.
It's way more effort than cooking. You have to
Mhm.
actually go get the materials. So much more
And
effort
there's
than
no
cooking it.
mass alchemy either.
Yeah, and there's no mass alchemy. That's right. It takes like way longer, right? And generally
Mhm.
speaking, people's alchemy levels are way lower because it costs more money to actually do alchemy, right? If you want to do it, like I think
Mhm.
that overall alchemy could very be easily be made into a life skill you could do all the time. cooking's already kind of in a pretty good spot because you got like Imperial, right? Like the Imperial stuff. I don't know. Blonde, did you have any ideas for alchemy?
No, I like that cool rare treasure system they have for it, but I am not an alchemist. I do it to make some elixirs for grinding, and then honestly, it's so much that it's like no, I don't I don't
Right.
even have a clue of what you can do other than like I played these phone games where it's like an alchemical thing where you throw in different things actively in the ingredients. It's like a quest in WoW for Hemet Nessingwary where you are crafting like a cooking thing and you're throwing in the oranges and then you're stirring it up and then you're heating this and you're cooling it down. They could do something like that, but I don't know. It's so hard to I feel like change the way that certain life skills are. I mean, unless they want to make an active portion, because players like literally set up the AFK activities so they can literally not do it and do something else. But if like the systems were more rewarding to do an active system, they could add it. But then I feel players are gonna like inherently feel obligated to always do it that way and not the other way. So, I mean, I'm
What
all
if
for adding cool new stuff, but it's tough too when like you're affecting what players functionally are doing and don't want to
Well,
change.
there's a really, really old system in BDO that is based around alchemy that they could definitely expand upon. It's called the alchemy stones.
Alchemy stones.
And maybe they could expand upon that,
Oh,
improve it. Maybe we could
really?
craft some like really special alchemy stones that have like more niche uses and
Huh.
stuff like that.
You're
And they
not
could lean
wrong.
more into that.
Actually, a
Really?
That would
super
be a way to
good,
expand alchemy, you know?
literally a super good idea. Like
Interesting.
to where you
Oh
could just
man.
like literally make alchemy stones that are like custom. Like they're like
Yeah,
custom
custom alchemy
alchemy
stones.
stones that were made for certain life skills or certain aspects of the game. You know what I mean? That gave you certain stats. And it would be like this extra like way to customize your end game build, right? Or for whether
Yeah,
people
you
life
have like a
skilling or
specific
PvP or
alchemy
whatever.
stone
Yeah.
just
Like
for like the specific life skills too. Like, oh, I have this hunting hunting alchemy stone that gives me, I don't know, reduced reload speed, right? Because that's an actual stat in BDO that doesn't get utilized very much. Or a specific one for, I guess, fishing and just like fishing reduction, right? Like that would be a way to also like make money. You could sell those alchemy stones too for, you know, for the profit,
yeah.
and that would be a way to expand it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a super smart idea. I like that idea. Okay, so now for fishing. Oh, yeah, no, we'll get into that one. Fishing. Fishing needs to be overall. I think that if people, there are so many people that play the game. I mean, I was watching a video yesterday where the guy was just like, I love fishing. And he's like, I fish in every game that I do, and you can fish in BDO, and like, this is what I want to do. And then he failed the active game for fishing like twice. But like, that's what he wanted to do. But there's a lot of players that start the game that just want to be fishermen, and then they realize how garbage our fishing is, right? Like you just, it's an AFK activity. Like it's just, and I, as much as like you can keep it an AFK activity, if people want to active fish and use the floats, like floats are like, who uses floats anymore, right? Who does that, right? I'm like, why bother? Why use any rod but the Balanos rod? Because it's just an AFK activity anyway. Like it would
Have you,
encourage people to use different rods. You could go out and like catch custom, like really rare fish. There could be like fishing events that happen, like the NPCs. So like, hear me out. You rethink fishing events to be like fishing events IRL. You know what I mean? Or like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go out on this like area of like Portaferia, right? Like or like this in this sea, right? And you have to catch like this many fish. Whoever catches the biggest fish, or like the most custom fish or whatever, wins. And then they could add different aspects to fishing, like active fishing. Keep in mind, they could keep passive fishing the way that it is, right? AFK fishing is fine the way that it is. I'm talking about people that want to be, they want to active fish all day. This is what they want to do. They can go out and catch like actual fish that are like bigger if they like, they could add certain stats to like various aspects of the water, or like add like those special like cookie or like the fishing hotspots, right? Like the fishing hotspots could be around. How you throw the rod in the water, you know what I mean? Like it could be its own little mini game, and then succeeding on the mini game, and then like you could see like if you're high enough fishing level, you could see more hotspots, which is kind of how it is now. But like, and then again, there could be like when they do fishing events, like an NPC could be like, all right, you know, the fishing event's about to start. Whoever catches the biggest fish in this time, and you go out and you just go to all the different areas where like you just kind of sail around on your boat and you throw your rod in the water, and like if you catch a really big fish, you bring it back and you see how it compares to everyone else's fish, and if you win, you get a big prize. Right? Like that would be really cool.
Mentioned earlier, have you ever played a game called Stardew Valley by chance?
You mean I played Harvest Moon, which is the better version.
Yeah, it's a farming simulator essentially. But I love the fishing system in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how it worked
Very
was
fun.
you would throw your fish, and then you have this like bar, right? You have this bar, and then there's like a smaller green bar in it, and then if you press your left click, I guess, it would raise the green bar, and if you let go, it would lower it, and the fish would like go up and down the green bar, and you have to up and down like the blue bar, and you have to like keep the fish in the green bar. If that
Highlighted.
makes sense, by like pressing left click or letting go of left click. And I thought that system was it. And if you added some fish would be more like sporadic. Some fish would be more like, more difficult to catch because it would be harder to keep it in the green bar. And then you would get those lures, like the different lures would have different effects on that green bar. It would either make it, more weighty or faster to move, or even bigger, have a wider range so that it's easier to keep the fish in the green bar. And then they also had like seasonal legendary fish in that game too. Like, oh, this fish is only active in a specific condition of, oh, it's rainy, it's between 2 p.m. and like 6 p.m. You have to catch it between that time. Or this fish is only in the winter season. Or you can only catch this specific legendary fish, or like specific fishes in general, in this specific season with these, oh, it's only in this area as well, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that they could have some, if they were to expand on BDO's fishing system, that would be the way to do it. I want to catch these really cool legend. It's not just RNG anymore. It's you actually go out there, you fulfill these specific conditions. Oh, it's rainy. It's between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. You have the specific lure, right? You specific bait. Oh, it's this legendary like golden delicious bait or whatever, and that would be the condition to activate the fish for you to catch, right? Activate the legendary fish for you to catch, and then you could sell it for a lot of money.
Did you do that
Yeah.
ice
And then you
fishing
could,
event, Jay? Where it goes in the ground and you have to swirl around the mouse?
That is kind of like the way that I was, the way Stardew does it, right? Is the ice fishing, in a way. And then they could maybe expand it upon it. It was a little boring on that ice fishing one, but it's kind of like the way Stardew does it. So
Like this system.
and then you could have, I don't know, they also had like fishing competitions in Stardew Valley, and maybe they could have some in BDO as well. Like whoever catches the largest
the
fish,
fishing
you
could be
win.
so much cooler. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to add sizes to like normal fish for like AFK fishing. But like when you go to do active fishing, like out in the ocean,
Should
and you're like
change.
doing, and you're
Loophole
exactly.
should change.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
and then they could like again like Jay said, like the mini game could change, and like they could add like the size of the fish, and then you catch like a really big fish and you can show it off,
I hate
or you could mount it in your house too, right? Like that would be really fucking cool.
I hate to bring it up again, but Arcade had a really cool fishing system where you could have a fishing boat and you catch a fish and it becomes a trade pack on your back, and it was worth a lot of money, and you wouldn't have to deal with taxes or anything, but you'd have to fight other players in the ocean if they tried to steal your pack. It was really, really cool. It literally
Well,
has
they could
so many cool life scaling systems.
integrate sailing with it, and then you could craft like specific fishing boat.
You could have a fishing boat that has a big thing on the back so you can store fish in it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Arcade had a lot of cool life skills that were all used constantly by the players, and it's
Yeah, Arcade was pretty
I
good.
feel like some of it's inspired in this game from that, but they just did not capture the actual essence of utilizing those functions because we have just a lot of AFK skills and not like I want to do this all the time, but there's not a window of opportunity for that to happen. And it would be cooler if we did have more opportunities. I mean, mastery should be that window of opportunity. Like you feel progression as you get more mastery, you're accessing higher parts of this like field that gets you to do more stuff, and none of that actually happens in actuality, which is frustrating.
Yeah. Okay, so now moving on. I think the only one we haven't covered is trading. And that's the one I wanted to leave for last for a reason, because the developers have basically removed trading from the game because they can't figure out how to make it work. And I'm actually going to roll this back to our discussion on farming, and like they could combine it if they expanded farming to be more of what we like talked about there. Not maybe necessarily exactly that, but like you could basically take your farming materials that you got on your big ranch or whatever, and go trade them. Like you could literally like do like a trading with vendors around the world that like needed those goods. You know what I mean? At like certain times and whatnot. And like that system could change a lot. How do you guys think that they could change trading? Because see, they've tried to change it a couple of times, and like they could just go land bartering, which is like a super easy, low effort thing. But like I don't
That would
think
get
that
me
they
interested in it.
I don't think that they want to do that. But I will say that trading should absolutely be something that if you want to sit there and drive your wagon around all day and be a trader, you should be able to do that, right? And like you just couldn't really do that before because you were limited on the number of trades and all this stuff. But like you should be able to do it for at least 6 to 10 hours a day, basically unrestricted. So like, is there any suggestions you guys have for like changing the trade system when they go to bring it back? What do you think that they need to do with it to make it interesting?
I mean, I liked the idea of integrating it into other systems. Remember back before when I was talking about processing, that could be a way to integrate it by, being, let's say you become an apprentice of this blacksmith or an apprentice of this cook, and then you could make these delicious foods to be traded for high value. And you said with farming, they could also integrate it with farming. Like, let's say you grow this really big crop, this giant crop, then like this giant pumpkin or whatever, right? And that's the thing you're trading for high value. And then we can also integrate it with, well, it's kind of already integrated with fishing. I'm pretty sure, like, because you do trade your fish into the trade manager, right? Let's also integrate it with gathering. Also has some form of trading. The little beetles that you can sometimes get from gathering. I guess that's they sort of integrated in that way. But I like the idea of integrating it in with other life skills that you would make byproducts for to be traded for high value. And that would be like I guess a simple way to do it. Less intricate than the way they were doing with the stupid, I don't know, the rumors of this. That was
it was a little
that was an interesting
obnoxious.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, it was a total flop of an idea. I mean, like, I like that they're like they understand that trading's not in a super great spot, but like, yeah, it was kind of a flop of an idea. But like, trading was already in a bad spot before that because like all their trading really was like the trade crates. That was it, right? It's just crates that you.
That's all I did.
With
What a waste of time.
Stuff, and then you moved them across. We're talking about active trading.
So many years
like,
ago.
Wagon and stuff. How do you make that engaging?
Such a waste of time getting into master trading.
Again, like being able to craft. If you could make trading a part of most life skills, like if you made like I want to be a craftsman and sell stuff to NPCs, right? That want something, right? Like this NPC really wants like this particular thing, and you have to craft it at this warehouse and like have these materials. You're like, oh, I have all that stuff, so you put it together and you go to that NPC.
Yeah,
like,
in a few episodes, I don't know if it was a few episodes, but it was like I don't know, like 10 episodes ago, we did talk about trading, and I don't know if you remember the idea I had with possibly making a contract or like be in a reputation system with the different merchants in the merchant guilds in BDO, because there's three notable ones, right? There's the Crows Merchant Guild with Patrigo, right? And then there's the Shikatu's Merchant Guild with Shikatu. And then there's the Xian Merchants Guild with Isabella and Crocia in Calphion. Those are like the three like main merchants in BDO that like I guess do business and trading. And I was explaining before in that episode how you could have that sort of, if they wanted to make it more intricate in that way, that could be a way to if you work for Shikatu, then you have access to all these exclusive items because you were able to get these exclusive goods for him. And same with Isabella, and same with Patrigo, etc., etc.
People are saying a smuggler system for rival NPCs would be fun too. I'm not really like, I don't know how that would work. Smugglers imply that your goods are going to be checked in some way, and you're like sneaking it past people. But like again, if you swore to a trade guild, you could raid other people's like trading stuff. But like, see, then nobody's going to want that because like nobody wants their trade goods to be attacked while they're just driving their wagon. Nobody wants the PvP. you could make it like a guild activity, like they have going in Ashes of Creation that's going to come out in 11 years. Like you could make like a little trade system that, like, you know, if your guild's able to transport these goods from this area to this area for this merchant guild, you get this much money, right? Like, or you get this much of a resource, blah blah blah.
You can make it a guild mission.
Yeah.
You know, and then
How
whoever
about that?
participates, you know, gets reputation towards
Actual guild mission
merchant.
pog. Now, what a good idea. There's your guild mission right there. Trading guild missions, or somebody's driving a giant wagon, right? And you got to move that
Protect it.
wagon, from point A to point B, right? And other guilds can come kill you, right? Like, that's really cool. That would be sick.
Yep.
Cho is just doing nothing but profit, but set them aside for a moment. Everybody else would have fun with it.
Good old Joe.
Like, I think that would be really cool. Okay, all right. So we've gone a little bit over time here, but we actually got off into an interesting discussion there. So let's do closing thoughts on everything today. Let's start with Blonde. I started with you before, so we'll start with you again here.
Okay. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for the life skills and stuff for it to expand. There's so much opportunity. It's unfortunate that it's not being utilized. I think we have like the possibility to make it so that you can do anything in BDO with all these different skills if they really push hard and enable themselves. And there's a lot of cool systems that players want to see in games. And there's a lot of stuff that other games have really nailed. And, you know, it would be really cool if they expanded on it. The manor system having, you know, more integrated ability would be really cool. And then the AP caps and stuff. I think that's just going to be a good change in general for progressing players in general. You know, not everything has to always be about, like, you know, how is it going to affect me as an endgame player and increase my profits? Like, you know, we want players as they're progressing through the game to feel meaningful, impactful changes. And I think that this is that sort of right direction. Or maybe lowering the requirements that as soon as you're out of Tuvala status or in Tuvala status and you've gotten full pen, you can access some of these other areas a lot earlier and making the AP caps and stuff a little more understandable. So I think that that's the direction they're going, you know what I mean? And they talked about that a lot at the Calpheon Ball. So again, you can catch me at twitch.tv/Bombear, where I'm grinding Olins every day for at least 2 to 3 hours, you know, every morning.
Every day,
and,
Olins, 2
maybe
to
one
3
day we'll
hours.
get the merchant
Wow.
One day.
One day.
One day,
Someday.
eventually.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Someday.
Maybe never.
All right. Jay?
And closing thoughts is that I hope the player housing system gets more functional updates. I also think it would be cool to have an impossibly difficult spot to strive to gear for, and an expansion to life skills would be amazing. And you could find me at twitch.tv.
Yeah, that would be nice if they would update, expand on the life skills.
And I am Blue Squadron. There's always something happening on this channel. Today, there was fan.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back. So the last time we talked about Throne in Liberty, we left things on a fairly positive note. The game had, at the time, just recently released in Korea, and buzz around the internet was overall generally good. Lots of positive first impressions and early reviews from people who had played the game. Primarily, this seemed due to some good improvements that were made to Throne in Liberty from its beta testing to full release. In fact, it seemed like many of the major gameplay and systems complaints had been addressed. Combat got an overhaul from its previously static feel with almost no mobility to a more fluid and dynamic system, more in line with other modern-day tap target MMOs. As for content, it seems like much of what we were looking forward to was there. The massive open world with thousands of players all sharing a single server and everyone visible as there's no phasing. Open world public events, non-instance large-scale dungeons, solo challenge tower climbs, world bosses,
I feel like it's always hard
tons of
to
guild activities, and plenty
play a
of
different game now since I played BDO with the combat.
And then on top of that, they had removed the autoplay features that people complained about, where you would just click a button and the game played itself, farming and grinding for you while AFK. In doing so, they also retuned all of the progression and farming speeds to be more in line with the fact that people would actually be playing themselves. So things like the time it takes to level your character and skills, the amount of gold and materials required to craft, all of that was drastically reduced. As a result of these changes, along with the game's core foundation of systems, features, and content, as I mentioned, resulted in an overall positive impression of the game in terms of what we were seeing from those early reviews and first impressions. But surprise, things haven't gone particularly well in the time since then. The biggest clue that things aren't looking so good for Throne and Liberty actually comes directly from the developer themselves. So recently, NCSoft released their financials reporting for the fourth quarter 2023, and they were not particularly great, revealing a 31% overall revenue drop in 2023
It's kind of
compared
nuts.
to 2022,
31%.
with a
Wow.
20% drop in the fourth quarter specifically compared to the year prior. Now, typically during these investor calls, NCSoft would also present earnings broken down for each individual game during the quarter. So for example, they would show exactly how much was earned from Guild Wars 2, from Lineage 2, from Blade and Soul, etc. However, this time around, they notably omitted this level of detail, not showing how much earnings came from each individual game. On top of that, the biggest thing that stood out during this presentation was the fact that they didn't even mention Throne and Liberty, even though the game launched in Korea within this reporting
It's kind of
window.
crazy,
Let
isn't
me
it?
say that again. They are doing an earnings report talking about how much money they made for their games in the fourth quarter
They didn't even talk about
2023.
their
During
newest
that
game.
time, they launched a brand new game, Throne and Liberty, and they didn't even bring it up. They didn't mention the game at all whatsoever
That's a
during the
rip.
entire earnings report. Unsurprisingly, investors noticed this omission because of course they did. They spent a lot of money on the development of Throne and Liberty
Yeah.
over the course of 10 plus years, mind you. The game finally released and they want to know how well it did, but NCSoft doesn't even mention it. So towards the end of the call, during the Q&A portion, investors pressed them asking what the heck, to which they responded by saying that Throne and Liberty had in fact underperformed, adding that they were working on trying to sort out the game's rough launch and make it better, but ultimately they're more so banking on Amazon's global release to save the game. The TLDR of all of this is that Throne and Liberty launched in Korea. It did so poorly that NCSoft is basically writing it off and turning their sights to the global launch being handled by Amazon to recoup their cost and ideally earn some money. Speaking of earning some money, let's get a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Luck Catchers 2, a multiplayer socio-economic MMO set in a vast world of magic, dragons, and launches in Korea. It completely bombs. NCSoft doesn't even mention it in its earnings report. Investors are upset and they respond by saying, hey, we got the global release. It's going to save us with the help of Amazon. Now, as much as we can totally go, haha, Amazon save your game, LOL, nice joke, the fact of the matter is
Nice
both of
joke.
the MMOs they've published, while they have fallen off, they did launch with rather significant success. Both games are still in the top 10 all-time concurrent players on Steam, with Lost Ark reaching a peak concurrent player count of 1.3 million and New World reaching one of 900,000. Those are very big numbers, and those very big numbers translate to a heck of a lot of money, and that is ultimately what the investors are concerned about. Although obviously the best case scenario would be continued success of their games to continue earning off of that investment coming from a game that wasn't even mentioned during an earnings call. At this point, I'm sure NCSoft's investors will take whatever they can get. Now, this whole thing got me curious about the game's general popularity. We know it's clearly not earning a lot of money, but are people playing it? Well, it actually seems to be the case. In fact, the game appears to be relatively popular, ranking among the top 20 played in PC bangs in Korea, which, if you don't know, these are popular internet cafes filled of tons of computers, and people regularly go here paying money to play games. The most recent numbers that I saw from last month actually placed Throne and Liberty just above Black Desert Online and Counter-Strike 2, and even a few spots above GTA 5 and Dota 2. While the game has clearly seen a dip in search interest globally since it released, it's also still trending above its pre-launch levels, which I would say is a good sign as well. So it appears like the game actually hasn't completely fallen off in terms of its
Yeah, it's
player
got some
base and
popularity.
at least in terms of the Korean launch, but that is only a part of the equation. I'm also kind of curious how the community sentiment and thoughts on the game have changed within the months since it released. While those initial reviews and impressions did lean positive, with people liking the gameplay and its content, there were some early concerns, and those concerns appear to have only gotten worse. So for starters, we know that the game has paid pay-to-win elements. That was never in question. These were present at release, and now a few months in, we do have a clearer picture of the sort of impact that it has had. So like most free-to-play MMOs, Throne and Liberty has two currencies. There is Solent, the earned in-game currency, similar to, say, Lost Ark's silver, and then there is Lucent, which is the purchased currency with real money, similar to Lost Ark's gold. Now, Lucent, that paid-for premium currency, can also be farmed in-game in the sense that the items that you find while playing can then be sold in the auction house, and in doing so, that is exchanged for Lucent that was purchased by other players. So it is the case that not spending any real money yourself, you can play the game, acquire items and traits that you sell in that auction house to players who swiped for Lucent, and then they give you that Lucent without you actually swiping. Now, with Lucent, what you're able to do is basically purchase nearly everything in the game that pertains to player power, and this is where the pay-to-win stuff comes in directly into play. So the two main things that people will use Lucent for, using that premium currency, is to buy the base level versions of gear, but more importantly, buy the materials that is used to upgrade that gear. In fact, only using Lucent, you can do the following. You can buy a base set of gear, you can purchase the materials to upgrade that gear, including now even being able to buy the in-game currency of Solent, which is used in that upgrade process. Previously, you could only earn that by playing, but now with the purchase of certain items that can be broken down into Solent, you can then basically convert that premium currency to the in-game currency. So that gate that previously existed is pretty much no longer there. And then you will use those materials that you purchase, as well as that Solent that you got by breaking stuff down, to enhance your gear, bumping it up to its maximum level. All of this just by spending real money. Now, this whole thing can be done as well entirely free to play, but of course it will require much more time playing the game, grinding for Solent, grinding for the upgrade materials, and even grinding for items that you will sell for Lucent. People who are swiping can't get more powerful than free-to-play players, but they can reach that max gear level of power much faster and with less playtime. Almost, because it actually turns out that Throne and Liberty does have some anti-pay-to-win built into it. The total best-in-slot gear in this game comes from activities like defeating world bosses or doing dungeons, some of these items are not tradable, meaning you can't buy them in the auction house. But even more so, most of these activities will be controlled by top guilds. It requires actually playing the game, being invited to those guilds, attending those events, and being rewarded that gear. So to get the absolute tip of the top best-in-slot stuff in this game, you actually need to play and be at these events, but more so, you need multiple duplicates of this gear, because to completely max it out, it's not something that you can purchase. It actually requires you merging them together. Also, part of Throne and Liberty's power progression involves upgrading your skills, and one of the items used to do these upgrades, parchments, can't be purchased either and is only acquired by playing. So these are two major elements of maxing out a character's power in Throne and Liberty that can't be paid for, at least currently. This, of course, could change. But honestly, from what I've heard, this isn't even the real big problem with Throne and Liberty. The issue that the game is facing isn't even so much the pay-to-win aspect, because, as I mentioned, free-to-play players can get just as far as pay-to-win players. People who pay can't get more powerful, they just get more powerful more quickly. But the biggest problem with Throne and Liberty right now is the botting. Apparently, the game is absolutely, completely, and totally overrun by bots. And that botting gives players a significant advantage, which, can we just take a moment to, I don't know, I guess appreciate the irony here? After NCSoft removed Astral Hunting, which was their in-game built-in botting that they had, and they did this due to community complaints following the test last summer, the game now finds itself overrun by people just using external autoplay bots. And how are those bots impacting the players? Well, this is how it works, basically. Throne and Liberty's endgame really primarily centers around competition between guilds and players in PvP and elsewhere, with its ranking and leveling systems. So people who are using these autoplay macros and bots have been gaining a significant lead over those who don't, being able to constantly farm materials and currency, which is then used to feed into boosting their ranks and levels of their guild. And this matters a lot because the number one guild on every server gains exclusive access to a castle, which, if defended, rewards them millions of Solent and Lucent. And remember, Lucent is that premium currency in the game. So guilds who are full of players that are using bots and farming 24/7 are able to climb the ranks, get that #1 spot, and then if they defend their castle, they are actually monetarily rewarded. They're given the in-game currency as well as the premium currency, and they got there essentially by cheating, by botting. Now, just because a guild uses bots, it doesn't guarantee they're going to take the #1 spot, but clearly it gives them a rather significant advantage over guilds that are full of players who aren't using bots, because they have to put in significantly more time and effort. When you're playing against guilds full of bots, they are farming and climbing those ranks 24/7 while you're only doing it while you're playing. Now, obviously, actively playing players can be more efficient and effective at climbing the ranks, but if you have people who are combining no-lifing, but then whenever they do take a break and sleep, then botting, that does give them the edge and make it all the more likely that guilds that are exploiting this and using bots and autoplay macros have a big advantage to reach that #1 spot, to then control the castle, which, if defended, gives them that huge in-game benefit of all those extra currencies and other stuff that comes with it. And seeing as the endgame in Throne and Liberty really centers around group content, and that's something else that you should know. This is very much a group and guild-focused game, specifically guild PvE activities, guild PvP activities, open world activities with a guild. This isn't really a game tailored to the solo player, to the small group players. It's really all about big, large-scale group activities. And all of this means players who are non-botting and guilds who are non-botting have a significant disadvantage on pretty much every server unless these bots are dealt with. I want to say here as well, I want to give a special thanks to Canon, who really helped catch me up to speed on how things have been going for Throne and Liberty. If you guys are looking for more detailed coverage of the launch of the game and how things have rolled out since, definitely go check out his channel. He's posted quite a few videos. So with all that said, where does that leave us now? Well, I think on the plus side, it's great that Throne and Liberty sounds like it has good content and gameplay, that they're generally good. Even if nothing else changes between the Korean and global release, it appears like the game has plenty of interesting content, a unique, interesting world, lots of cool features, and it feels good to play, at least so I've heard, and that is all great news. When it comes to the pay-to-win features, well, they're frustrating. Being a free-to-play game, we do, of course, understand they have to monetize somehow, but obviously our preference, my preference, is they stay far away from allowing you to purchase power. Well, they have not done that. You can buy most of the top tier gear, but at least swipers can't pay to become more powerful than free players, but they can in fact reach those upper echelons of power much quicker and with much less playtime. And the reality is, I do not expect this to change from the Korean to global release. And as for the bots, like botting in any MMO, this absolutely needs to be dealt with. I would say doubly so, considering botting gives guilds that big advantage in Throne and Liberty, with again reaching rank #1 more easily, controlling that castle, and getting all of the rewards that come as a result. Now, news on the Western release of Throne and Liberty has been, let's just say, quiet, with Amazon not publishing any updates since October 2023. It's been several months since we've heard any news from Amazon about the Western version of this game. I suspect when it does come out, it'll probably have a decently successful launch, especially considering Throne and Liberty is like one of 2 traditional MMOs that we're going to be seeing launching in 2024. There's just not a lot of new games to pick from this genre, and so when anyone does come out that looks even halfway decent, tends to draw in quite a bit of numbers, because people who like this genre want to try out new and interesting things. But I will say, if they don't change the pay to win, which I'm not expecting them to, and if they don't clamp down on these bots, which I know can be difficult to do, my guess is that Throne and Liberty does in fact follow a similar trajectory to Amazon's previous 2 MMOs. We'll see a big, impressive launch with some huge concurrent numbers, lots of people checking the game out, followed by the complaints, followed by a fairly massive decline in the 1 to 2 months following. That is my estimated guess, my best educated guess, but that could change. Who knows? Maybe they get rid of enough of the pay-to-win elements that it doesn't bother most of the global audience. Maybe they successfully deal with the bots, and maybe we're just left with a great new MMO for people to enjoy. Keeping my expectations in check, though. That what I just said is what I foresee will happen. I mean, hey, you know what? It's in Amazon's best interest. It's in NCSoft's investors' best interest if that isn't the outcome. So I hope they take the steps to make it so that that's not the case. The game comes out, they make the necessary and changes and improvements so that it's a successful game that flourishes over time. We'll see how it all turns out, though. With that said, that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Good stuff. We're almost there. One more minute. Stay strong. All right. Good stuff. Finally made it. 17. Jeez, please, man. Okay, will you stop attacking me? What's going on here? Stop. Oh, don't you kill my horse. What? All right. Okay, let's see what we got here. We shall total it up. So 17,208. 17,208. Okay. We have 112. 113. We have 11. Is that 12? 12. We have 18, 19, 20 of those, which that's insane. 20. No necklace. 2 seeds. 115 of those. So that's with Agris. So let me screenshot this real quick. All right. Well, all right, YouTube. Hope y'all have a good night. I'm going to hit the sack. Got to wake up really early in the morning to go to work. So, yeah, hope y'all have a good night. Peace, peace.